Welcome to Adam About. Today we're going to be doing the Ocean City Fish and Chip Shop Shootout. I've picked the best two fish and chip shops from TripAdvisor that are both located on the Barbican. One of them is Harbourside Fish and Chips, the other is the Harbour. The Harbourside Fish and Chips is more of a traditional fish and chip shop, and it's got a small seating area upstairs and in the downstairs area. The Harbour is more of a traditional restaurant, but also has a fish and chip takeaway outlet around the rear facing into the harbour. This review today is all about the food. It's just about the takeaway. It's not about the service, it's not about the restaurant experience. We're going to be using a number of criteria to assess which is the best of the best in terms of the fish and chip shops. We've got some scales with us so we can weigh the fish and weigh the chips. We also look at the price so we can get an idea of value for money. But most importantly, we're going to be looking at taste. Taste of the chips, taste of the fish, and the overall appearance of them as well. So let's get started with the challenge. Please excuse the slightly battered packaging. It's because we had to put them in a cool box to bring them up here to the home. So they both come in very similar cardboard boxes, both are branded, and this is what they look like. So both look like a good sized portion, both look like a really nice colour. Yeah, we'll now weigh them to see how much value for money you get with each. So first of all, we've got the Harbour. First of all, we've got the Harbour restaurant. Just weighing the chips there, and they're coming in at about 350 grams. I don't know whether that's good or bad at the moment, but 350 grams for the weight of the chips at the Harbour. We'll now weigh the fish. So we've now weighed the fish from the Harbour, and yeah, 200 gram for the fish. Looks like quite a large, substantial fish actually. Great. So let's tuck in. So this is the Harbour fish that we're just going to try. Do you want to try a little bit first?
Wow. So as you can see, it's got skin on. It's really meaty, so you can see the batter's really light. Fish itself feels really light and airy, which is good. It's chunky cod. Oh. The cod is delicious. Tastes as it should. It tastes fresh. It flakes away like cod should. Just press here. It's a little bit greasy. You can see when you press the batter, the grease does come a little bit, but not overly. The batter itself is good. It's light, doesn't taste particularly oily. That is really delicious.
Yeah, I'm just going to get in there as well.
Do you think of the fish?
That fish is pretty close to perfection. That is really meaty, really tasty, really chunky, lots of texture to it. It's just got that perfect cod taste. It's not overly fishy at all. The batter is not soggy. It's quite crispy. Really, really good.
I'd say the ratio for the fish and the batter is good too. The batter's not too kind of overwhelming with it. It's just light, so it really complements the cod. This, as you can see too, is crispy. So those like lovely crispy bits that are really nice.
It's worthwhile noting that this fish does come with a skin on it. So if you're a fan of skin, that's great. If you're not a fan of skin, well, you can eat around it very easily, I would say. Should we move on to the chips?
Chips.
Again, these chips are really, really good. A little bit of crunch on the outside, soft and fluffy on the inside. They're not greasy at all, very evenly coloured throughout, no real black bits in there. I mean, that is looking like a pretty perfect chip.
What I love about these chips is that they're not stuck together. I don't know if you can see, but kind of some fish and chips, they're so greasy they kind of all mush together, but these are all just really great chips. Like I said, they're crispy, they're light, they're chunky. A really good chip right there.
So we're just going to tuck into these fish and chips for a while and don't want to let them go to waste. Okay, so this is Harbourside fish and chips. It looks like a good sized portion. What we're going to do now is weigh them. It's not the easiest thing in the world to do. Oh, I've lost a bit of fish. Let's make sure I get all of it. That's all of it. So the fish is coming in at just under 200 grams. I'd call that 180 grams. So the chips are quite heavy. The chips are coming in at 360 grams. So a reasonable portion there. So let's get on with the tasting.
Fish. Kind of messed up the batter.
We have messed it up a little bit. It's not looking as pretty as it did when it arrived.
But look at that.
Yeah.
That is a chunky bit of cod. Oh God.
That's delicious. So just looking at the fish then from the Harbourside fish and chips. What have you got to say about that, Claire?
It breaks up lovely, as you can see. Flakes away just like cod should. See the grease?
Slightly greasy.
It is slightly greasy.
If I turn it over, you see the batter's actually in pretty good condition.
Yeah.
Actually, the batter's pretty good. It's just a little bit greasy.
Just a bit greasy.
So try a little bit of the batter. So
this one doesn't have skin, so if you don't like skin, it's perhaps a good option.
I would say that fish is really delicious. Like you can see, I've managed to pick up a huge bit. It's all staying together. It doesn't fall apart at all, even when you've got a large section like that, because it's so meaty.
Let's try the batter and the fish. It's crispy, it's light. It's a good ratio of batter to fish, I would say.
The fish seems slightly small in terms of size, but in terms of weight, it was actually quite high. So I think it must be really dense and really chunky.
I think the batter is slightly, for me, maybe slightly thicker. But it's well cooked.
It's really nice. There's nothing else to say, but it's really good. So let's talk about the chips. The chips are really golden in colour, look really tasty. Plenty of them. Quite a soft texture. There's no bite on the outside. They're sort of the same texture all the way through.
They're a little bit more stuck together. So maybe a little bit more greasy.
They've got a slightly more bittery, sort of potatoey taste. I don't know what breed of potato that would be to give it that, but it's got more flavour to it than some other chips. No complaints from me at all here. The chips are really, really nice. So yeah, thumbs up to Harbourside fish and chips. We've just finished off the fish and chips. Both are really delicious. We've just sat here on the Hoe overlooking Plymouth Sound. It's absolutely beautiful sunny day today, and yeah, we've really enjoyed our lunch. But we have to decide a winner. I think before we talk about the scores, we have to say we really are talking about the best of the best here. Both of these fish and chip shops are exceptional. If you went to either of them, you will be happy with what you get. But for the Adam About Ocean City Fish and Chip Shop Shootout, there can only be one winner. So let's go through the scores. So what I've done in order to calculate value for money is had a look at the weights and the prices for each of the places. So looking at the Harbour first, their fish and chips cost £5.95. The fish came in at 200 grams and the chips came in at 350 grams. With the Harbourside fish and chips, the weight of their fish was 180 grams. That's 20 grams lighter than the fish that came from the Harbour. The chips came in at 360, which was 10 grams heavier. And when you look at the price, the Harbourside fish and chips is £6.10 and the Harbour is £5.95. So I think the Harbour has to win in terms of value for money. It got a heavier fish, which I consider to be the more expensive element of the meal and the thing that you're really wanting to pay for. The weight of the chips was marginally better with the Harbourside, but only by 10 grams, whereas the fish of the Harbour was 20 grams heavier. So I really do think the Harbour is winning in terms of value for money. Also, it's 15p cheaper. Now I know that's not much money, but I think overall, given the weights, given the prices, it's kind of an 8 out of 10 for the Harbourside in terms of value for money, but a definite 9 out of 10 for the Harbour in terms of value for money. In terms of appearance, both fish and chip shops did a really good job. There's absolutely no way we could tear them apart, and we've given a 9 out of 10 for each of those. So let's move on to the chips. In terms of the chips, we just felt that the Harbour edged it slightly. They were just a little bit crispier on the outside and just fluffy on the inside, so we've given them both 10 out of 10 for taste, but the Harbourside dropped a couple of points there. We've given them 8 for texture, whereas the Harbour gets 10 out of 10 for texture on the chips. In terms of the fish, really close call on this. This is probably what we spoke about a great deal of length before we could come to agreement on this, and it's really close. In terms of the Harbour, we've given the taste 9 out of 10 and we've given the texture 9 out of 10. Now we eat there a lot, and it has to be said, I feel they were a little bit off their mark today, but if we go on to Harbourside fish and chips, the taste was absolutely superb. It was truly delicious fish, and we've given that 10 out of 10. The texture, they've dropped a point. The batter was a little bit greasy, although the meat itself was really good. The way it held together when I had that piece was just fantastic. So we've given that 9 out of 10. So if we add up all those scores, drum roll, out of a potential of 60 points, Harbourside fish and chips comes in at 54 points, and the Harbour comes in the winner by 2 points at 56 points. Pretty close. So that's a score out of 60. 54 out of 60 for Harbourside and 56 out of 60 for the Harbour. So I declare the Harbour the winner of the Adam About Ocean City Fish and Chip Shop Shootout.